Greetings and welcome to the pod. My name is Mark West. Bold and Beautiful are an informal Sydney swim group for all ages and abilities who meet at Manly Lifesaving Club every day and swim at 7am 7 days a week from Manly to Shelley Beach and back. Dorset Sutton is a bold and beautiful swimmer, philanthropist, and has been a key part of Operation Crayweed, an effort to bring crayweed back to Sydney beaches. You might remember this from the last episode of the pod. Dorset and wife Jenny run the Lim Sutton Initiative, focused on marine philanthropy. I started my chat with Dorset by asking him about his experiences with Bold and Beautiful.
Well, the Bold and Beautiful is a incredibly gorgeous swim group that formed about 10 or 12 years ago down at South Stone, Manly. It started up with a couple of women that used to swim there anyway at 6 or 7 in the mornings, swimming over to Shelley. And what happened was they sort of began to talk to their friends, us, and come down, and one thing led to another, and you found out very quickly that there's a bunch of people that really do love ocean swimming, even if they haven't done it before. There's something about it which is serene, it's therapeutic, it's physical, and then there was a camaraderie built around it of people with a common interest. And it grew almost exponentially. I think there's an incredible number, like almost 20,000 people have logged on or logged in for a swim there.
Wow.
Because, with technology these days, you have a blog and you have whatever it is, when people join for no cost, you just provide an email address and provide some details to the central admin thing or whatever, and thereafter when you swim, you can log your swim as a 1.5k swim, a 3k swim. If you go down to Queensland and back, that's a 3.5k swim, and so there's a little bit of sort of sub-organisation around it. A couple of diehard captains, if you like, who keep an eye on things and safety and so on. Everyone swims at their own risk. There's, you've got to abide by the guidance of the surf club down there at Manly, and there's no liability on behalf of the Bold and Beautiful for swimmers. Everyone swims at their own risk, and you're given a safety form when you join, so you know what the suggested best way to navigate the swim, so it's safe for everybody. But it's just been a lovely growing activity that people with common interests share. And the lovely thing, or amazing thing about it, is people come from all over Sydney to do it. You don't just have to live in Manly or DY or Osman or wherever. That people are coming from long way away because they're looking for something where they can get some physical activity, meet some nice people, meet for coffee afterwards. It's everyone's accepted, black, white, fat, thin, age, doesn't matter.
How long have you been doing it? Have you been there from the start?
I've been doing it I started in 2011, whenever that was, so that's 9 years ago. I've racked up just under 3,000 Ks, which is
it's pretty heavy.
Putting it into the system, logging it, and it's on your phone every day if you want to look at it. And and we have, as one does in groups, you can earn a badge if you've done a certain amount of kilometres, and if you can swim in the winter without a wetsuit, you can qualify for a winter badge. And there's just a few little things which are motivating to people to keep it working. Once a month, pre-Canova, we meet in Manly for a dinner where we bring along a guest speaker, and when I say dinner, just a pretty easy supper sort of a thing. And bring along a guest speaker and talk on ocean or sharks, or doesn't matter what the subject
Or
was,
whatever,
motivation, how to keep fit at 65, and stuff like that. So it's been actually a pretty beautiful safe haven for people who might have just retired, people who might have just been divorced, people who might have just lost their job, people who've come back from overseas, like my wife and I. We've been living around the world for 20, 30 years, and we came back and were looking for a community activity, and this really presented itself as a fantastic way to, in our area, because we live in Manly, to meet people and kind of, in the case of being retired, get down to another dimension and keeps your mind busy, your body busy, engaging with people with all walks of life.
Yeah.
It's been a really holistically satisfying and growth experience in my life, if I can put it that way.
Wow. So how often do you go? Do you go every day?
Yeah, every day.
Every day. Wow.
And since we've got grandchildren and daughter living overseas, so if we're travelling, I can't do it. But unfortunately, now we can't travel, so
that's right.
I've got no excuse for not getting up at 6:30 in the morning and getting down there and doing it. And it's just a very very, very experiential therapeutic experience.
Yeah. Do you swim in a wetsuit during winter, or do you tough it out just in Speedos?
Well, good question. For 8 years, I just toughed it out, and the water does get, in the peak of winter, it gets cold down to 15.5. That's pretty cold. But this year, I don't know whether it's me getting older or my body's changing, or I'm finding that it's a bit hard to do that. So I do have a wetsuit now this year for the first time. Everyone says to me, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" And I'm saying, "Well, look, I'm sorry. My body's telling me it's too cold for 45 minutes." Have you had a chat with Ziggy?
I have had a chat with Ziggy. Yeah, he was lovely.
Right. Okay. He was the fellow, or he was one of a team of people that approached me X amount of years ago, and 3 or 4 years ago, to sort of see whether we were interested in working with them to help support them regenerate crayweed grass in Cabbage Tree Bay, which is in that area where we all swim to Shelley every day. And swimmers have a great interest in preserving the beauty and the of the marine park there, because it's World Heritage Top 10, Cabbage Tree Bay Marine Park, and the effort by Sims to regenerate marine life by planting crayweed. My wife and I, Judy, sort of really thought that was a fantastic thing to do, and we've become the sole sponsor of that whole initiative with Sims. And they do the work, but we've been partnering with them, and we've now got quite a good early stage regeneration of crayweed going on there, which will bring back into the bay eventually lobsters and crayfish and other abalones and other marine life, because crayweed is their natural fodder, natural habitat.
It's such a good initiative. So SIMS is the Sydney Institute of Marine Science. And so how does Bold and the Beautiful get involved? Are you getting the diving gear on and going and planting the craybees yourself?
That's a good question, because in order to get the project approved by the old Manly Council, which is now Northern Beaches Council, in order to get it approved, Sims had to engage with community constituencies, if you like. And since I was in the swim group, and I've got an interest in the project from a philanthropic support point of view, I kind of took on the role of getting many facets of the Manly community involved with the project, which included the Bold and Beautiful Swimmers, because we swim over it every day. It included the Friends of Cabbage Tree Bay, which are the residents of that area that also keep a watchful eye on boats that get out of hand and all that sort of thing. The Manly Community Forum, which is one of those sort of precinct groups where they also take an interest in what's going on, around the marine area and so on. And schools and various other community groups. And because I was so active with the swimmers, when the time came to plant the crayweed, I was able to get 30 or 40 Bold and Beautiful swimmers to act as volunteers to help SIMS plant the crayweed grass in Cabbage Tree Bay, if that makes sense. And those who could snorkel and hold their breath and go down, could help. In fact, if you were a scuba diver, you could assist. But mostly, we had people who were helping transport the crayweed from A to B and help the divers put it on and off the boat. And the volunteers all helped tremendously, and we got the job done in 2 days.
Oh, that's amazing. So it's great. You were talking about the Bold and the Beautiful in this community of all different people and tradies and whatnot.
Yeah.
What a great community to come and to pitch this at. You would probably easily find divers and boat drivers and all sorts of people.
I live in Manly. I walk Manly every day. I swim Manly every day. You bump into locals just doing what you do. And people say, didn't I see you, doing something with the divers? And when we had a Manly daily newspaper, which used to come out 3 times a week, and now has been taken off the market, so to speak, because of the no longer viable to run a local magazine, a local paper, I should say. But we used to have a lot of articles in the Manly Daily, and they'd have photographs of us swimming over the crayweed and planting it. But there's a good deal of knowledge in the community now. And maybe one fact that I could share with you is I was able to with my connection with the state member for Manly, the state Liberal fellow plus Mike Baird, we got a grant from the New South Wales government of $200,000. We won a competition actually for one of being the best local initiative project in 2019 going on in the area in Manly, and SIMS, therefore, were over the moon with excitement, because it's not easy to get grants from the government, and they get very little for their work. They've got to generate it through universities and philanthropists. Essentially, they get very little from the government. Anyway, we won an award last year for $200,000, and as part of that responsibility, we need to take education and outreach programs to the community about why crayweed is important and what role it plays in marine life regeneration, and why Cabbage Tree Bay was chosen, and what's happening, and what will eventually happen when it reproduces more and more and more. And so we've put together videos and school education programs to make the activity that we're undertaking sustainable, in other words, not just a one-off, and to make it provide a tool for primary schools and public schools and what have you, for the children to, school kids to understand environmental care, ocean care. And we've had a fantastic response to that, because parents all in this area are very conscious of keeping the ocean clean. And if there's an opportunity for their children to be involved in programs where they can follow up and learn about these things. You know, you get the whole family behind it, and it's so we've actually come a long way since Sims first approached me and my wife Jenny 3.5 years ago and said, you know, would you be able to help, or would you like to help? And, you know, we made a decision that we did, and you know, now 4 years on, I feel it was a fantastic decision.
Well, and Mike Baird and his father Bruce Baird are fairly famous ocean swimmers, really. So, how did they find you in the first place? I'm sorry if you mentioned it before, but how did they find you in the first place?
That's an interesting question. The woman who approached me originally, I think, might have gotten my name from making, of all things, a small donation in lieu of flowers to a friend memorial service, and his family had asked for, in lieu of flowers, would you please make a donation to Sydney University Cancer Fund or some such thing, right? And I think since Sims has got connections, or they're affiliated with both Sydney University and New South Wales University, I think the database might have thrown up our names and where we live, and they literally just cold call you. And we met for a coffee, you know, and I didn't think too much of it at the time because I'm not a marine scientist. I'm a marketing guy. You know, I spent all my career working with one company all around the world called Commonwealth. Anyway, that once we met, I actually felt that the Sims people were outstanding people, and not just tapping you on the shoulder asking for money, but rather professionals in their own right in terms of what they're doing, why they do it, how they do it, and being able to engage someone like Jenny and I and treat us as partners as opposed to philanthropists sitting on a pedestal and just tap on your shoulder once a year, if you know what I mean. We've been invited to forums and Ocean Day events, and you know, they include us in their Sims events down at their headquarters at Chowder Bay in Sydney, in the harbour there. So it's become a partnership more than just a relationship or just a transaction. And as a result, we've not only done the crayweed grass in Cabbage Tree Bay, but we've put up living seawalls along the harbour. That's another way of creating habitats for marine life regeneration. So it's spiraled into how do I describe it? You know, a part of my retirement life, which is very passionate, very purposeful, very rewarding. And that's what I always say if anyone wants to ask if you can have philanthropy with passion and purpose, it's actually a really rewarding experience.
Wow, that's a really good story, actually. So, where you mentioned a couple of things there. So, where do you think some of the philanthropy might go into the future with the marine science?
Well, we've just concluded what we call Chapter 1. Not that we ever thought that we'd get past Chapter 1 or whatever, but Chapter 1 was sort of getting crayweed grass successfully replanted into Cabbage Tree Bay, and that's ongoing now. It's happening. It's successful. We're getting what they call cray babies jumping and resprouting, and over time we're going to get a nice forest of crayweed in that area. And that also part of Chapter 1 was working with Sims to create living seawalls, which are these beautiful tiles that you bolt on to the old rickety seawalls that you find around Sydney Foreshore Harbour, and it creates instantly a habitat for organisms and oysters and seahorses and all sorts of marine life to come in with the tide, and then they sit in, they habitat and reproduce and do all that stuff. So it's a protection of the sea world in the harbour. So that all fell into chapter 1, Mark. We've just concluded chapter 1, and we've actually just made a commitment in the last week or three to roll into chapter 2, which is another 3-year whatever the word is, philanthropic supporting for the next 3 years. And we've identified projects related to those two and some new projects to keep it all going and sustainable, because I think what we have experienced, my wife Jenny and I, is that when you donate or invest quite heavily and support a social initiative like this, and you see results quite quickly, there's a very tangible and experiential reward associated with you've made a commitment, you've given them some generous funds, and you're seeing reproduction of marine life in the harbour and all the good stuff. When you donate to Liver Cancer Research and all those things, I mean, you're doing absolutely the best thing you can. You're giving to the best hospitals or institutes or universities for cancer research, but you don't necessarily, you might well be involved with people who are suffering, but you don't necessarily see the outcome of that research. And by that I don't mean that there isn't an outcome from that research, but you don't necessarily experience it. With a project like this, where we're essentially the sole investor supporters for these projects, these two projects so far, and you see the results, it's a big win-win, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. It's great. And I don't imagine you thought that you would see results so quickly.
No, I didn't. And if we were going to see results, I wasn't sure what the results would be. You know what I mean? Because, as I said, I'm not a marine scientist, but when you work with these people, and I go out on the boat with them, and I'm not a particularly good snorkeler, holding my breath going down for 30 seconds or a minute. I watch what they do, and then what I should have told you was our swimmers who swim over this stuff every day. There's one or two of the women down there who are avid picture takers. They've got underwater, like mobile phones or whatever they are, that they go down and they take pictures of us. And they shoot the photos to me. I shoot them over to Sims. And Sims, if you've got a ready-made laboratory of people here willing to help do the work, so they can see how the crayweed is doing from time to time. And if we've had a really bad storm, and they might have got knocked around a bit, or if there's been some herbivores coming in, that's little fish that might come in and feed on this stuff. And I should tell you, Mark, that crayweed grass is the wagyu beef of seaweed.
Have you tried some yourself?
That, I mean, it can't get any better. If you're going out to have a really good stay, you know that you'd order a wagyu beef at $100 a plate, and you can't get much better than that, right? Well, this crayweed grass is the same to the sea world. So when little fish come along and all of a sudden in their regular area where they're swimming, they get presented with this crayweed grass, they think all of their Christmases at once, and they nibble on the crayweed. So we're able to provide that sort of feedback by virtue of being involved. So you get all these other little rewards coming out of what I didn't expect to see in the first place, and it's had a very motivating impact on me, and I can see the results of it. I can work. I know the CEO of Sims because it's a small enough organisation. You can get to know the people, and if you're going to help them out, it's lovely if you can work with the top of the house as well as the divers.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and you'll be able to see all your efforts as you swim over the top of them. So you're going to get the fish coming back, and then all the associated crab life or
Yeah,
whatever else comes back.
exactly. No, that's right. Crab life and abalones and eventually crayfish. Lobsters will come in, and they were there originally before man and boats and pollution and storms and anchors and spear guns all interfered with it over a period of time. And what we're doing now is sort of going back to put it together the way it originally was.
Because one of the bays there is already a marine reserve, isn't it?
Yeah, no, the Cabbage Tree Bay, which is the area I'm talking about. Cabbage Tree Bay is the area between South Staine and Shelley Beach. Have you been down there or not?
I have, yeah.
The bay is referred to as Cabbage Tree Bay, and that is, in fact, a World Heritage Top 10 marine park because 20 years ago, the Department of Primary Industry, state government, Friends of Cabbage Tree Bay were able to get some rules and regulations installed down there which prevented boats from doing what they were doing prior to that, and divers and stormwater pollution and other sewer which was pumped much further out to sea. And so all of that cleaned up Cabbage Tree Bay, and it's such a beautiful habitat. We've got blue groper there. We've got any variety of, docile sharks, Port Jacksons, wobbegongs, there's grey nurses down there, blue groper everywhere. There's about 368 different varieties of identified marine life down there, just in an area bigger than the size of 2 or 3 football fields,
That's fantastic. And you get to swim over them every day.
Yeah, exactly. This is why I say, I'd love to meet you one day down there if you care to just have a swim and just sort of, when the water's a bit warmer and maybe in the spring or summer, and, you can see what we see every day. And, many swimmers will stop halfway because they've just seen something they hadn't seen before. And, we usually wave our hands and say over here, and there might be a turtle or a cuttlefish, what they call a giant cuttlefish, great big orange looking creature that, this is what's there.
Yeah. I'd love to come down. I'd love to
just amazing. Yeah, no, we could arrange that.
Because, I've swum over
nice to do it on a sunny day so you can see, when they've got good visibility.
Oh, that's right. I've done the Cole Classic swim a couple of times, and so I've swum around there, but I've never sort of taken my time and taken a look. And I think that would be really lovely.
I'd love to meet you and do it that way, because you can then see firsthand what people do and how they do it. And it's all because of this Canova thing. Bold and Beautiful's had to break itself up a bit, if you know what I mean, because originally, for all the years it's been going, there'd be a 6 o'clock group, a 6:30 group, a 7 o'clock group swimming over to Shelley and back. But now with social distancing and rule, we've all agreed amongst ourselves and the management of the group, Bold and Beautiful, sort of said, look, you can log your swim any time during the day. We'd much prefer you to not all go in at 7 o'clock because people are uncomfortable with that, particularly the congregating after, which you can't have everybody trying themselves on top of each other. And so right now it's sort of spread out over at least half the day. You see people go at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Well, that's not so bad.
Just because it was, no, it's not. And on a Sunday day, 10:30, it's lovely. You get great visibility. You can come out and have a shower and a coffee, and everyone's not on top of each other. There's lots of people there, but so that would be a very good way to get a good feel for the culture that's down there. Because people enjoy the swim, they enjoy what they see, they enjoy the fact that every single day you're in the water, there's a different set of conditions, and and sometimes it's bumpy and sometimes it's crystal clear smooth. And then, as I said, you see this incredible variety of marine life.
Yeah, it sounds beautiful.
And that's where the affinity between Bold and Beautiful and Sims has come, because Sims is interested in regeneration, and Prayweed's the catalyst to do that, and the swimmers see that as a way of making a sanctuary, a place where we can get regeneration, and it's good for nature, it's good for the environment, it's good for everybody, and so you've got a really strong community willing to work with the scientists and to help them. So it's they've gotten through myself and the Bold and Beautiful a terrific network of people that really want to help them be successful.
The community sounds great because everybody sounds like they care. Whether it's the nerdy scientists who,
Yeah,
they don't get paid much money. They're in it because they care. And then there's the volunteers from the Bold and the
yeah,
Beautiful and whatnot. Everybody really cares about it, which means it must be such a great thing to be
yeah,
involved with.
yeah. No, it is. It is. I would say care is the absolute best word you could choose, because everybody does care down there. And if we swim in the water, we see a bit of plastic, people, will pick it up or dive down to the sand and pop it in their togs. And, so everyone's caring for the fact that, you've got to look after these sort of, when you see it in its pristine beauty, you would say to yourself, you never want to let it deteriorate again, and certainly not by man-made efforts. What I like about the Bold and Beautiful, well, it's a community of interest. There's a lot of very passionate people there that care for the ocean and what we all need to do to be responsible to look after it. I like the camaraderie down there. There's no barriers between people. There are no subsets of people that ignore you or whatever. If you want to chat to somebody, you can just go over and say, "Hi, my name's Dorset, and I was just wondering, what did you want to talk about?" And so that's a great acceptance of all people of all backgrounds. There are people down there that have been through tough experiences, be it job loss or partner loss, and the community down there is sort of like one big, bunch of people that all want to help each other, and I think that's probably the primary thing that I enjoy about it. And on top of that, I've met some really good friends, people I've got lots in common with, and we hop on the ferry and go and do things together, and go to exhibitions or museums or movies, or when you're my age, you're looking for that, because my life was all different before. I had 35 years working for an incredible company all around the world in a corporate life, a corporate world, and that's quite different from when you retire and you're looking for something to do that's different from that. And Bold and Beautiful for me has been a fantastic way of meeting lovely people who've got a common interest, common passion, and probably didn't mention earlier, which I should have. There's an incredible blog we've all got when you join it, and I'm not big on high tech, but it essentially just means we follow the news every day. There's a blog written every single day of the year, which you might get on your iPhone at about midday, and it just explains that there was 200 people down there this morning. The water temperature was 18.3, and there'll be about 50 photographs of people going in the water, coming out of the water, what they saw when they were in the water, big surf, dolphins, doesn't matter. So you've got this incredible mechanism and means of keeping people engaged, and there's a picture and a name, so you can very quickly say, "Oh, that's Jenny that was saw a blue groper yesterday, and you see Jenny standing over there having a coffee. You go over and say, "G'day, Jenny, how you doing?" God, that was an incredible groper you saw yesterday. And, I'm sort of embellishing a bit, but that's how it works.
And so, what do you think's next? What's sort of next for you, or next for Bold and the Beautiful, or next in the philanthropic endeavours?
Our personal commitment to Sims for the next 3 years is to expand crayweed planting and seawalls, and enabling Sims to expand the area where we plant it, so it may go further up the New South Wales coast, and Northern Beaches, I suppose, initially. And with the harbour and the seawall project, they're already looking at some new technology, for want of a better word, so you could more rapidly expand the application of seawalls around the harbour, so that you bring back more and more sea regeneration. And I even had to work with the fishermen, not the Department of Fisheries, and also the recreational fishermen, to get their support for what we're doing, because if you bring back more marine life and regeneration into the harbour, it's good for recreational fishers as well.
Yep.
And so they were very supportive of it. And so under the new CEO that's just been appointed at Sims, we're going to meet next week, and there's quite a interesting list of another half a dozen projects which we're going to be 100% supporting them on.
Oh, fantastic! So this is going to just keep going.
Yeah, it's getting out to be a fantastic experience. And let me share with you something else, but Sims have been absolutely fantastic. And now I've become quite passionate about this, and along the way we've put together memorabilia books and mementos of what we've done over the last 3 years. And so we've got scattered around our house, some beautiful pieces of art that they've very, very generously given to Jenny and I in recognition of what we're doing and supporting them. So right around my home, as I'm sitting here talking to you, I can see lovely pieces of real crayweed grass, living seawalls. We've had some of the tiles put around our courtyard, and so it's a very living and breathing experiential relationship in terms of what we're doing. And the reason I like to have these sort of things is that when our friends come around to the house and they know what I did for my prior years, and all of a sudden they find me engaged with marine scientists and stuff, they can actually see why I'm doing it, how we're doing it, and it's not just talking mumbo jumbo to someone.
That's very cool. Yeah, I really like it. Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean. You know, if someone says to you, "What are you doing?" You say, "Well, I'm working with the Sydney Institute of Marine Science in Marine Science Regeneration." They think I lost my marbles.
No, but and then you show them something.
You know, when you show them, lovely photo books you put together, and the people that you've met. You know, one night we had a seafood night here, and the divers came around, brought some lobster and mackerel that they caught when they were diving. We had a beautiful seafood barbecue here, and I think it's those sort of memories which make the partnership truly purposeful and adds a special meaning, and that's where I get my passion from. When you help people and you see they appreciate it, and you're achieving a good cause and you're having fun at the same time, that's a home run.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I don't undersell your own role in this. I mean, you've been very generous to get this off the ground, which is great.
I think the other thing that came into it was at the start, I think we realised there's three ways to go here. You can say thanks but no thanks. You could give a little and feel like you're doing something, which really they wouldn't make much difference. Or you can own it, go big, step up, make it purposeful, find the passion, and we just decided that if we're going to do it, let's go in and make a difference. And I think that's where the good feelings come from, when you've helped someone in a big way and they appreciate it, and you know you're getting good results. What I've learned is there's a new emerging group of investors around the world who want, or companies that want to have their company name associated with an environmental project as a means of showing that they're a corporately responsible entity and not just trying to make a buck for their shareholders. And Ocean Care is one of the areas where people like Andrew Forrest, who's the head of Australia's second largest company, Pilbara, he and his wife have a foundation. There are 4 pillars to their foundation, and one of those pillars is Ocean Care. So I'm already talking to somebody who's talking to him to see whether we couldn't bring him into some projects that we have in mind down here for, in marine environmental development. So I do think there is a strong interest out there, and you've got to find a way to tap into it and catch the heart of someone who says, yes, I can see there's an opportunity there, and we could bring investors in. I can help a little bit in that respect because I had to have a corporate background and sort of been through a lot of all that. It's interesting. Jenny and I went over there for a holiday about 18 months ago. Absolutely adored Margaret River and the Rottnest and the Perth, the coastline, and down there. And it's not surprising that Andrew Forrest, is interested in Ocean Care because they do a better job in Western Australia than we do in Eastern Australia, looking after their coastline, and there's crayweed everywhere there, and so on and so on. So he's already into it, and he could see he sees the need to keep plastic out of the ocean and things like that. And so we're going to work on that kind of connection and association. And I'd love to be part of that because I'd love to meet him. I'd love to share with him the passion I have for this, and you sort of got to get. I think when you march down this direction, you've got to find someone who's got the same level of passion as you have, or more likely, I've got to find someone else who's got my level of passion, and then see how you can put good minds together with good focus, and say, well, how do we turn an idea into a sustainable project as opposed to just a one-off? And with sustainability, you get corporate interests because you can develop both the commercial side of a project as well as the environmental side. I make it up. If we wanted to create, for example, a global centre of ocean, a global ocean centre of excellence in Manly, if that was what we wanted to do, we'd need Twiggy Forrest to be a big believer in why that's a good idea. And I'd have Simmers involved. I'd have education, you've got research, you've got commerce, you've got all sort of university involvement and scientific research and stuff, and could be really. And on top of that, you're in the most pristine harbour ocean area in the world. That's only separated by 300 metres of land between Sydney Harbour and the ocean.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
So that's my big dream, actually, to be able to pull off something like that. But what we're doing at the moment is small steps. You never know where, if you can meet the right person under the right circumstances and you had to put a few good minds together, sometimes you can get beyond local barriers and think you can, make it happen.
Thank you very much for Dorset Sutton for taking so much time to talk to us about Bold and Beautiful Swim Club, Operation Crayweed, and marine philanthropy. If you'd like any more information on anything that you heard today, please get over to the website at www.thepodpodcast.net. That's www.thepodpodcast.net. Thanks again. My name is Mark West. I'll catch you next time on The Pod.